there's nothing worse than going out and saying, right, sit tight, we're going to play you, 1 hour of a new album back to back.
Right.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now.
Geoff, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. You are a busy man, and maybe that's just a good way for me to start. You've been part of so many releases. So how does an artist with your experience, your career, how do you live up to yet another release? Is it like, same old factory work, or is every release still extremely special for you and you can remember them all?
Yeah, it's always very exciting. I never forget my first release, of course, which was the Buggles in 1979, and that was extra special. I always look back to the day when I first heard Kill the Radio Star on the radio. And that was a very special release. But each one's different, and I think that there's always a bit of excitement before an album comes out. As how it's going to be received. Are people going to get off on it? People excited about it? There's always something like that to go to bank on. But it's always different, and certainly all the, as you pointed out, all the albums I've been involved with. The first Asia album was fantastic, and there's always that level of excitement around it.
Do you even have a copy of every album that you've been on?
I generally try to, yeah. I keep. I don't think I could lay my hands on all of them at this moment in time, but I generally keep it. I think the thing is that when you're working on an album, that's your focus, your main focus, and so you tend not to backtrack or think about that album from 3 or 4 albums ago. You get very focused and very channeled on what you're doing at any specific time, and so that becomes your whole life at that point when you're making that album. And then once it's released and you go out and play it live or whatever, then you start thinking about the next one.
I remember from an interview that Sir Paul McCartney once said that he basically pays somebody while he's writing music to kind of keep him honest, that like, oh no, this melody you've used that before, and I don't think that he's been on even half of the albums you've been on. Is that something that you guys sometimes need, or does it come pretty natural to find new ways of expressing yourself?
I think it would come from within. Someone would say to you, oh, no, you can't use that idea again. We've already used that on such and such a thing. So, and of course, Steve is very, he's got a great memory for stuff like that. So he'd be the first guy to turn on me and say, no, we've used that one before. So we try and keep it as original as possible. And certainly, from my standpoint, you're invariably going to have some influence from your previous stuff when you get to my age. That you're gonna, you've had a 5 decades career. Things are going to crop up that you probably you get close to things you've done before. But I think that generally speaking, we try and keep it as original as possible.
This weird discrepancy, or I don't know, balance that a progressive music institution like Yes has to live up to is, well, you can only be considered progressive if you do challenge yourself and come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
And at the same time, people also want to hear the quote unquote Yes sound. Is that sometimes a frustrating balance to kind of having to find when you're recording, or do you only care about the expectations of people once you're in that release cycle, but not in the creative process?
Well, I think what it is it's a very natural thing. It's something that comes naturally. It's not something that we try and inject, say, oh, this has got to sound like Yes. We don't approach it like that. So it's something that really, as you say, progressive means something new, something that, or something that evolves. So, we try and keep that evolution going as much as possible, but without, as I say, without backtracking on ourselves and not giving ourselves the restrictions of saying this has got to sound like Yes music. This is going to sound like, I don't know, Close to the Edge or Tales from Topographic Ocean. We never really have that thing hanging over us, because of course, Yes, historically, it's really down to the members who were there at the time and created that sound. So this is a very different lineup from the very first Yes.
Right.
We make our own pattern, I think, for the future, and certainly this lineup is I think it's a very strong lineup. We've been together for 7 years. Obviously, sadly, we lost Alan last year, which was a great blow to the legacy of Yes, and to myself. I was very friendly with Alan, so that was a very tough thing to get over. But I think that the fact that Jay had been around supporting Alan on stage for quite a few years before, it really helped to, I suppose, bring him into the fray as a full-time member. And as I say, this lineup's been pretty solid for the last 6 or 7 years.
We're all connecting.
Yeah, I mean, probably one of the longest times that there's been such a stable time in the career.
Probably the longest, I think probably the longest, because in the 70s, Yes were changing, every couple of years. They changed their lineup, or Tony Kaye replaced by Rick Wakeman, and Pete Banks, of course, the original guitarist, replaced by Steve. Then Patrick Myers came in, Wakeman came back, then I went in. So there's a lot of, particularly in the keyboard division, I think there's a lot of changing going on, and certainly for me, it's a real challenge to be able to look at all those, particularly those 3 keyboard players. I've played all the stuff from those albums that they did. It's quite a sort of musical journey, so to speak. One of the key things about this album, particularly, is the way that Jon Davison has come to the fore as a writer, particularly, and lyricist. And also the instrumental side of the band. So we had to try and balance that out, and so I think that's why you get a couple of long tracks on there, because we're very conscious of maybe the previous 2 albums were much more condensed songs, and I think that we were giving a nod back to the because I say this is a very musical band, and I think that we wanted to feature those musical sections as much as we wanted to see Jon's great vocal bits and his vocal arrangements. We wanted to push the musical aspects of the band to the fore as well. So, Yes has really always been like that. If you listen to certainly, Close to the Edge or Tales from Topographic, there are these great long musical sections within the framework of the songs, and so that's one of the reasons why we approached it this way. And I think that that's helped to, as you say, it gives it a very Yes approach, in terms of the arrangement and the orchestration has made it very much, a Yes album, if you like.
But whenever there's a new Yes album coming out, you almost have to be okay with the possibility to never hear many of these songs live, because when you do new tours, your fans are always going to come with a long wish list of songs they want to hear, unless you decide, like, hey, we're going to play a new album start to finish. What's that like?
That would be the kiss of death with an audience, because
right,
they breed on familiarity to some extent.
Exactly.
Well.
Exactly.
There's nothing worse than going out and saying, right, sit tight, we're going to play you, 1 hour of a new album back to back.
Right.
It doesn't really work like that, because it's not really entertaining the people what they come to see. They come to see Yes, so they want to hear some Yes music. and they might not, of course, a lot of them won't be necessarily familiar with the new album. So,
Right.
So what we tend to do is we might pick one or two tracks that will integrate into the set, and I think that's sufficient to people will then recognise not only we're not relying on the old stuff entirely,
Right.
Trying to introduce the new direction of the band or the current direction of the band, and I think that's it's important that we don't just steamroll of that, we ignore it, but at the same time I think there's a balance between the old and the new, if you like.
Yeah, but it's if you say specifically, it has to be that might be sufficient for the audience if there's one or two new songs. Is that sufficient for you? Because you started at the start of this interview, you mentioned, you're so into this into the creative process of this new album, and it's all you think about. And so as an artist that you're working on songs that might never be played live again. Is that what's that like as an artist to be in that position?
Well, I think that to us, I think the albums are as important as the tours. So, we're happy to make an album. Okay, we might not play some of the tracks live, but at the same time, the enjoyment is going to come from people putting that album on at home and listening to it, with their friends or whatever. Put it on the coffee table, look at getting the vinyl copy and looking at the big sleeve. That's how some people want to experience that, and that's fair enough. Not everybody wants to go and sit in a seat way up in the gods watching a band and appreciate music that way. So we're fortunate in the way that we can do both. We can perform live, and also we can enjoy our time in the recording studio as well. So again, I'd say there's a balance between that. That I think all bands really have that thing in mind, is that if they can go out and play live, but also have that great time creating new music in the studio, then that's really a privilege for all of us.
To wrap us up, I want to look ahead a little bit, because
let's keep looking forward. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Steve mentioned in another interview saying that I wanted this to be a fresh album because I want it to be. I think he said something along the lines of this is the start of the path of the future of the band or something like that, and which is interesting to think about. You mentioned yourself, my career has been 5 decades long, so that means that every year, for Yes or the Yes fans, they can celebrate a 10, a 20, a 30, a 40, or a 50-year anniversary of something. And there's a lot of nostalgia in music. So what is that like for you? Like, are those milestones very important to celebrate?
Last year we did Close to the Edge, which was the 50th of that album.
Exactly.
Which is a fantastic album. I mean, that is cited by most progressive rock fans as being the holy grail of albums, and certainly the Yes albums.
Right.
This coming year is Tales from Topographic. So, those days, bands like Yes went into the studio every year and put an album out, pretty much. So it's only more recent times this one's quicker on the back of the Quest, but as you say, there'll always be a 50th anniversary. So we'll be doing some stuff from Tales this time out, I think, and maybe next year or the year after, I don't know. It's the 2026 is going to be 50 years of Relay, so that'll be another interesting thing to address. Assuming we're all still around and doing it,
Yeah. And then likely, you'll be wrapping up another new album as well and having to tour and promote that one as well. Yeah. Even 53, 54 years in now, Yes, is far from gone, and will continue to release a lot of stuff. So for the fans,
55 actually. The band started in 1968.
There you go. So lots of stuff coming our way. You'll be busy, Geoff. You'll be very busy.
Yeah. I don't mind that. I like to keep moving. I've got my other project as well, the Downes Brain Association. I'm still a possibility of Asia going out again at some point. So, so yeah, I mean, it's all systems go at the moment, and I'm happy to be doing it.
Awesome. Well, on that extremely positive note, Geoff, I want to thank you so much for your time to answer some of the questions. I know you're extremely busy, so I want to be respectful of your time and let you go to hopefully not too many more interviews today, that you have a break at some point.
I've got a few, but this has been very pleasant. Nice to talk to you.
There you go. Thank you so much, Geoff.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jasper.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.